Hello, hello.
Hey, Polito,
Hello.
are we live?
Yep.
Oh,
Just waiting for people to jump in.
all right.
Dylan said he's watching on YouTube.
Let me see.
Says he should be participating in person. I was going to type that to him, but now realizing he's watching it, he'll hear it in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, we have four people watching. Is that right?
It's hard to tell. I think one of them's me because I control it. Here, I'll kill this. There we go. Hello, Suzanne.
Hello.
Is there some show and tell, Suzanne? You should do something, anything. Can you
Me?
hear
No,
me?
I don't.
Yeah.
Me? No, I don't
It's
know.
anything.
I can read to you from that great article that Chris posted.
Yeah, that's perfect. Oh, Chris is here. Hello,
Okay.
Chris.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Um, how you want to do this, Matt? Should I try to ping the channel, try to get other people in here?
Oh, Gabe beat you to it.
You. I was typing when you said it.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So here, right on Slack, is just for people that are
On
online, right?
yes,
That channel is like people that are also offline.
correct.
Maybe this is a TIL for someone that's watching our channel. No.
Well, shoot. Does any of the four of us have any show and tells?
Well, I was just saying that that article that you posted earlier today was really interesting, and maybe merits a out loud 3 sentence summary.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. You got that? Do you
Yeah,
want? Do you
I got
want to?
that. I got because I highlighted the most interesting part, and it was really glad. I was really glad you shared it because it gave me a new way to think about it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm interested. What the new thing is for you, if that's something that you can.
Yeah. Well, here, since I'm already talking, how about I just go right into it?
All right. Go for it.
So, if you haven't read it, Chris posted this article by who is this? Dave Rupert about another way of looking at technical debt, and he actually went all the way back to Ward Cunningham, who was the guy who coined the term, right? And he quotes Ward as saying, if you develop a program for a long period of time only by adding features, but never by reorganizing it to reflect your understanding of those features, then eventually that program simply does not contain any understanding, and all efforts to work on it will take longer and longer. And I think that's the main thrust of what this is about, right? Instead of trying to like make all of these analogies of like technical debt and maintainability and repairs, or there's been so many different analogies. It's just there's not a cohesive understanding of all of the features that have been added to it, and you're not updating that understanding in the code. You're not reorganizing the code to reflect all the things that you keep tacking onto it. And the way that Dave Rupert then sort of restates that is, either you slow down and you spend the time paying someone to refactor and document that code after every major iteration, or you end up paying developers in the future to just sit there and stare at the code and try to make sense of it. And which would you rather do? Which one compounds more over time?
Yeah, and those are your two options, right? And really, it feels like maybe there isn't. Obviously, that's those two options represent maybe a spectrum of options, but
sure. But like those are sort of the two ends of, and that's why it's called debt, right? Because the one that you don't take care of now compounds over time, right? But I just liked the reframing it of, instead of trying to get technical about like, oh, the code looks bad, or the code, should be reorganized in a specific way, or it's this technical thing that's wrong with the code. It's just, hey, every time you add a feature, and you don't take a step back and think about the big picture of how that feature fits in with everything, your code is just going to get disorganized, and it's going to take longer to figure out what's going on every time you look at it.
Yeah, and the thing is, people leave, right? They're working for a company, right? And then they leave. And if you don't handle this right now, right? If you wait, right? That person that knew about the code might not be at the company anymore, right? When you have to address those issues. So you're losing context because those people are not there anymore to help you understand why they made that decision on the code, right?
Yeah.
So if you address those things before, right, in the end, you have a better code, a better product, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I'll take a look at that article. I haven't read it. Chris just posted this morning, right? Maybe you should link to it. Can we put it on the chat?
Oh, yeah.
cool. While Suzanne is doing that, I have a really quick show and tell that I could probably do if that's okay. Can I go next, everybody? Yeah, thumbs up.
Yep.
Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. All right, I'm gonna share Firefox first, and then I'll share my terminal. But so as you know, I'm trying to learn this language called Julia right now, which is a general purpose language, but aimed at mathematicians in the same way that maybe Mathematica is or R is. So I really sort of topped out in math at calculus, maybe intro to calculus. So I'm not really. There's a lot of math that I don't know about, and certainly matrix multiplication is one of those things that I don't know about. But I was learning about it this week, and you know, one of the things that makes Julia good for mathematics is that matrix multiplication is just built in. So let's see what that looks like. So I'll stop sharing my Firefox here, and I will share instead the terminal. So in the terminal, we got a bunch of, we have a Julia REPL here. So I'll try to define a couple different matrices. So we'll have matrix A, 1, 2, semicolon, 3, 4. And that's a 2 by 2 array. And then I'll have B, which is maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. Another 2 by 2 array. When I multiply those together, we get 19, 22, 43, 50. And this is the result of the formula that you would find on Wikipedia for matrix multiplication. So yeah, that's one of the things that makes Julia targeted towards mathematicians.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing some AI stuff. I did a course from Stanford, and they were using, I don't think it was MATLAB, something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, MATLAB, yeah.
And like those languages, they compile to assembly, right? And there are specific assembly operations to do this kind of multiplication. So it's like really optimal, right? So some like if you're doing this in Ruby, there is nothing like that, right? So you do have to, like, I don't know, iterate over the matrix, like each position, and then you multiply each one. So it's like an order of, I don't know, for a 4x4, for a 4x4 is like 16 operations, I guess. I don't know, right? But like,
yeah. Since you asked about assembly, I'm gonna try to show some assembly in Julia now. So let me see if I can redefine my matrices here. So we got A, and then we got, sorry, Control R, B equals B. So now we have our two matrices, and let's say I do a function like M or mult. I'll just call it mult, I guess. So function mult, and then we'll say A, B, and then return A times B, end. All right, so now we have a mult function, and then I can say code native A, B, or the capital versions of these. Mult. So we'll call our function with these two matrices. Hey, and we get a whole bunch of assembly pops out. And oh man, I'm not going to be able to scroll here because my terminal's messed up. But you can see at the very top here. Oh man, I can't even highlight it. MVMOV APS, which I think is vector move aligned packed singles. Vector move aligned packed singles. This is a SIMD instruction set that Intel introduced. That, yeah, Ruby, when Ruby is executing, it's not calling this instruction, basically. And this is the instruction where you're sending 4 values at one time, or however many values at one time, to one mathematical operation in your core, and then the core multiplies all those values together at one time. At least that's my fuzzy understanding. But I've been looking into that this week, so sorry I took the bait on the assembly question.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, and people doing machine learning, they're using like those video cards. They can do like this parallel processing. It's all because of that. Like you can, like one single operation can run like a bunch of calculations.
Yeah, like that new real-time ray tracing, what is it, RTX NVIDIA card has something like 1,000 something cores. So it can do 1,000 simultaneous matrix operations. It's a bit more cores than my computer has in its CPU. That'd be cool. Can you compile Julia to GL? Do you know?
I think that I have seen it, that it exists. I have not looked into it in any real way, but yeah, so I'm interested in that. I would like to, maybe I can find out for next week.
I'll go next. And so mine is not as advanced as Chris. So I have my app, right? I have a bunch of users, and it's growing, but I have no idea how many users I have. So I was like, okay, I need to get that data and put in a chart so I can take a look. So I was like, okay, I have a Postgres database. So I was looking for some libraries or something, and I saw this PG charts, something that we install locally, and then you create a query, and you put the axis X and Y, and it generates some charts. Like you can have a bar, pie chart, donut chart. So I tried this, but I don't know, I wasn't able to get all the charts that I wanted. Like it wasn't working. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna look at Heroku. So I was looking at some of the add-ons that Heroku has, and I saw some, and they were like all paid. I was like, I'm not gonna pay for this, right? When it's like your own project, you're always like trying to save money. And then I don't know, this week I was like, what is this data clips thing? I know Heroku has that, and I never used. I know that was there. I didn't know what that thing was doing. And I was like, okay, let me take a look. And it's exactly what I wanted. So you can create a query. So here I have this, let's see, active dates. You have your SQL query here. You can select a date, do some counts from your table, and you group by your stuff, and then you have your data. So I have like all the dates, how many users, and how many workouts they did that day. And you click this chart, you have the table, and then you can see like easily on Heroku, like your app growing, right? Like, so I had like, I don't know, this was 2019 November. It doesn't show, oh, it shows on the right. So it shows like 5 users, 2019, and then now like 300 users. So like per day, this is like active users per day. So I was really like impressed by Heroku. Like I was thinking that Heroku was just like hosting stuff for you, but they actually have some UI stuff for you to visualize data. So it saved me time to implement, because I didn't want to implement like this stuff on my own, like for my admin website. I just wanted to see the data in a graph. And it's free if you're paying. I don't know if it's like if you have to pay a Dino to have access to data clips, or if it's all available for any database. But it was pretty cool. Like this one is like a more complicated query where I have like a CTE here. So I have like active users. For me, active users is the idea of doing at least 8 workouts per month. So I'm grouping by month. So if you've done at least 8 workouts per month, you are like a real active user. So that means you're doing 2 workouts a week. And then I have this CTE here, and then I select the data, and then grouping by the date of each month, and then I count the users and I sum the number of workouts. So I have this data here. So I have like for last month, I have 442 users and 9,000 results, workouts. and you can see the graph here. So yeah, I was really impressed with Heroku. This is free, I guess, if you're paying the Dino. But yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, nice. Graphs for free.
Yeah, I think like just for you, right? I'm not sure if it's something that we would show to clients, maybe, right? Yeah, they have access to Heroku, right? So they could,
Yeah.
you could create those data clips for something, some data that they want to see, and then you don't
Yeah.
have to build like an admin interface for reports. Like, just write your custom queries, give access to the client, right? And that might be like for a startup, right? Like that would be the easiest thing and the cheapest thing for them to see some data.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of a quick and dirty reporting, basically,
Yep.
right? And I think the key for me is that is that it graphs for you, right? Because I think a lot of times, like you sort of do a quick and dirty report with SQL, and it's sort of like, all right, here's a bunch of rows. Now what? Um, Also, the fact that it can save it sort of on the Heroku instance is nice because I feel like I've gotten into a position a lot of times where I'm trying to commit those reports, those like quick and dirty SQL reports into the GitHub repository, and then you're, I don't know, and then they just sort of hang out there, and nobody knows why they're there, and
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Cool. Who's next?
I can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can. Can you guys see my codes?
Looks great.
So I'm always telling people that the problem with their performance of their code is the number of queries that they're doing, and it's not Ruby. And you're wrong. It's not Ruby. Stop messing with Ruby. Just talk to the database less. But I want to tell you about a time that I was wrong about that this last week. This is part of a system I'm developing for a client that will take a bunch of stuff out of a JSON document and that has relationships declared in the JSON document, and then form layers where each layer only depends on the layer before it. So it's a topological sort, but as opposed to being like a topological sort like you do in like the required tree of a JavaScript project, it is grouping each layer, which I want to do because I want to do bulk inserts of each layer. So the way that this algorithm works, you've got the leaves and the parents. So each node is just an array of nodes, and each one has dot related, which is also an array of nodes. So those are all of the foreign key relationships, all the belongs to references for each node is this related array. So we come in here and we have the nodes, we split them up, partition it into the leaves. So leaves are, as we know in partition in Ruby, the first return is the things where the block is true. The second return is where the block is false. So in here, we take all the related things to a given node, and we take the list of all the things that we have already put into layers, which I've called sorted. It could be called already layered. And we see is everything that we need already layered. And if it is, now we are a leaf. All of our dependencies are handled. So we can push that on the stack of layers. If there's no more parents, this is our exit condition for our loop. Otherwise, we add the leaves to the list of things we've sorted, and we do it again. All right, so it's a fairly sloppy algorithm, I guess. It's not super fancy, but that's the gist of it. So the client has sometimes these graphs are 50,000 entities long. So let's just run this with 50,000 entities. I think this is going to take sort of one layer. Oh no. That's not what I thought was going to happen. Well, sorry. I should have run through this a couple more times before trying to show it. But the first time that I ran this, I had this naive implementation of superset. So I'm saying if you take all of these, the things that I need out of the things that I've solved, is it empty? So is everything that I need to have already resolved in the set of things that I've resolved? And this was the most intuitive way that I could express that. But then it took 100 seconds for Ruby to form these layers. So then I did a little source, more documentation reading, and I found that you could get the Boolean answer to this question like this instead. And that took 0.9 seconds. So instead of 100 seconds. So I think this is because, set is implemented via hash in Ruby, and I thought that that would always make everything faster, but apparently there are some operations, like if you're returning an array, that can still be very slow even if you're using a set. And somehow this operator of is this a superset or an identical set? So it's not a proper superset. This is proper superset, right? The sets are not equal, and everything in the set on the right is in the set on the left. This is just superset. So they could be the same set, or there could be more other shit on the left. And somehow this operation uses the hashes in Ruby. So it's 100 times faster. And that's the time that Ruby was the reason things were slow.
Nice. Brian, I think that I am upset that I can't remember a time that I have ever used set.
Yeah, you might have missed that opportunity. I mean, it's not most set functions are on array in Ruby as well.
Oh, right, yeah, right.
So it's really the only reason I reach for it here is because it does hashing. It has the performance optimization of a hash built in, and I knew this could potentially be slow. But what I didn't know is that only some things are fast on set.
What do you mean by that hash? It has hashing built in.
So if you add the same thing to a set twice, the set is basically it is implemented in terms of a Ruby hash. So if you add the same thing twice, it's going to have the same hash key. So that's how the set, is a proper set. It doesn't have duplicates in it, because if you add the number 1 to a set twice, it's just going to replace the last one.
Yeah, because if it's an array, you have to go over the entire array, right? To see
Right, you'd
the
have to
elements
like
there.
call
Yeah.
unique. So this, let's see, s equals, here's my set, and then if I shovel onto that a 1, then nothing happens, and that's because it takes 1, turns it into a hash, and merges that new hash into here. So it uses the speed of a hash function, as opposed to if we did this with an array, we would have to say 1, and then you'd push 1, and then you'd have to call unique bang or something, maybe. Is unique bang a thing? Yeah. So in that case, unique is going to have to compare every item in the set to every other item in the set, or in the array to every other item in the array. But set is just going to compute a hash value for an object and know whether it's unique or not based on the hash key.
Gotcha. So, would you be able to, in Pry right there, would you be able to demonstrate the equality or the greater than?
Oh, sure, yeah. So if we have a set of A through Z, maybe I would probably need that second set of parens. Does that work? Oh, neat. So here's my set. And then let's say I have another set. That is just, B R I can't see any more of those things in my way. I-A-N. Just choose some random letters here. And this is, set 2. And now we can see that set 1 is greater than or equal to set 2 because every letter in my name is in the alphabet. However, set 2, my name does not include every letter in the alphabet, so it's false. The equals only becomes important if you have like set 1 being 1, 2, and set 2 being set 1, 2. This is not a proper superset. So I believe that's false, right? But greater than or equals, as it implies, this would be true in that case. So that's the distinction. Whereas this would be true if this set were not the same set, but everything was on the right was included in the set on the left.
Nice.
So there's between a proper subset and a subset.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I have more, but let's give somebody else a turn.
I'll go. I'm gonna show something that requires less complex thought as something Brian would show off. So.
Can you turn up your volume a little bit?
Yes. Hold on. Let me talk closer. Is that better? Better.
More.
More.
There you go. It's getting better.
Okay. A few people have asked how I pulled off my Halloween costume, which I will post in the chat in case anyone cares. Post here. Okay, so if anyone didn't see, I was the Invisible Man on Zoom. And this is it's a standard camera trick and requires you to have, it's basically like 2 shots. So you take what's called a clean plate, and that is like put your camera on a tripod or something steady so that nothing moves. Lock everything down, and then take a shot of your scene. So for me, this is my background. So I kind of just like shimmied out of the way, took a screenshot of Zoom at full screen. And then I can use that in combination with background replacement that's built into Zoom. So normally you would have like Gabriel has the background replacement, and it's doing it with edge detection. So he doesn't have a green screen, but it's using face and edge detection to figure out what is background and then get rid of it. Or there is a little button in Zoom that says, I have a green screen, and that lets you key out anything of that color. So we do something similar. I don't know. I'm going to try to screen share. But I have a feeling it's not going to work because it's not going to show Zoom's settings. But let's give it a try. So I'm going to say share that desktop. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Where'd Zoom go? There's Zoom. Can you see my Zoom settings?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can. Okay, awesome. Okay. So I can see it on the screen. Nice. So we go to background and filters. Normally this is where you would go to choose your background, but I'm going to choose a special background, which is my background. So this is the clean plate. This is not the one I took today. So the lighting's a little off. It's probably not going to look as good as that day. So, Okay, so you can kind of see where it's getting mixed up here. All right, so I have two options here. I can mirror my video or I have a green screen. So when you choose I have a green screen, it lets you also choose the color you're going to key out. So that's right here, this little manually pick your color. And then you just choose what you would want to key out. So I could key out black and then like everything goes away. But
Key out red and your Phoenix will go away?
yes, yeah. So you can like see through me. There you go. So I went the morph suit route. So you get a little hood that is green. Slide that on your head, and you key out the green. So if I were to key out the green, we'll see that this all goes away. So then I can do interesting things like wear it, and this is how you would like get rid of an arm in a movie or something like that. So lighting plays a big part in this. So this is, and you can see that. So the lighting's off. So you you find this amusing, Chris? Yeah, so anyway, that's how this works. So you have a clean backplate, and then you can replace things by keying out. So it's an old style camera trick with a little, well, it's not new anymore with keying out things. There's blue screen, green screen. Green, if anyone doesn't know, the reason why we use green is because generally you're doing work with people on a green screen, and green is not common to anything related to a person or skin tone. So that's why green is used. And then blue tends to be used if you're doing models or something like that. So then I did this. You then get rid of my face. I am gone. And I wore a hat that day and glasses. So I can put my glasses on, and well, glasses you can see through probably doesn't work so well, but that's how that works. And yeah, that's it for my show and tell. So you can do fun things with Zoom as well.
That was awesome.
That's cool. Nice. So Brian, I think you're up. Everybody else has done a show and tell, so
Okay.
we're in the bonus time here.
Bonus time.
Mm-hmm.
I have to wait for Polito to stop showing me his screen.
Sorry, I had to find it.
Yeah. No worries. I got this working, but really it's just like we have to wait 100 seconds to see that it's slow. So we could not do that. Two things. One real quick thing is Jack Christensen was always trying to write like prettier for SQL, but with cock install cock SQL, if you use cock, we now have prettier for SQL that will, group your stuff in a nice way. So prettier for SQL if you want your queries to be pretty.
What is the underlying application that is doing this?
It is the SQL language server that is using a Node SQL parser that you have to configure to be Postgres flavor, because apparently most things in Postgres are invalid SQL syntax in every other SQL. But once you do that, prettier SQL, the dream is real.
Man, all right.
It's like, if you know how to use, so like COC config, the one setting that I had to look up was, SQL.database is PostgreSQL. And even, the cock config stuff. I don't know if you've seen this, but like you can start adding something SQL and it auto completes the available keys, and then you're like, what databases does this support? And here's an auto completed list of all of the databases that are valid values for this key. So there's really no reason to not use the conqueror of completion for all your SQL editing needs. And the one other thing is, let's see. Oh, I have it pulled up over here. So I love Rake. I love using Rake. Yeah, look there. It took 151 seconds to do it that way. I love Rake. Well, I might as well show how fast it is this way now. Sorted greater than or equal to this set. So instead of 158 seconds, it takes longer for Rails to boot than the thing. $50,000 rows, 1.18 seconds. So it's faster. It's a lot faster.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is a rake task that does some stuff that we need for some artifacts that we use in RSpec. And for a while, people were just brute forcing it and always running a rake task every time you loaded RSpec. So if you wanted to run one test, you had to wait for this whole thing to build this configuration out of some YAML files, which was a big pain in the butt. So I wanted to rewrite this with file tasks. File tasks are like the oldest part of Rake. I mean, well, I don't know. They're the oldest part of Make, which Rake is Ruby Make. So that is saying, do this thing, make a v2 artifact only if the v2 artifact that you have is older by looking at the modification timestamp on the file than the file on this side. So at the top, I have these path names declared that point to the JSON files we're trying to build. So you can run this. I think it's build. Yeah, and this task depends on this file name, and they have to be like absolute paths. So this task depends on this file, and it didn't do anything. It won't actually run this. We could say build and it won't do it because it doesn't need to. But if we remove the file that it's trying to build, it will. Or if any of the files that are declared to be dependencies of that file, which is in this case of my client, it's all of the files in this directory. If any of those have newer timestamps, then it will build it. Okay, it's basic make concept. So that's great. I was very happy about it. But in our CI and in the world's greatest test parallelizer flatware, sometimes you have multiple files or multiple processes trying to check these modification times at the same time. And so we were hitting situations in CI where one would start to rewrite some JSON, and then the other one would look at the new modification time before the first one was done, and there'd be gibberish in the file that was unparsable, and everything would burst into flames. So when you have multiple processes trying to do this, you have to lock it. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to introduce like sockets and stuff. That seems too complicated. So I was poking around Ruby standard lib and I found flocks, which are advisory locks for files. So I've got these exclusive locks on these files. So now I just say with exclusive lock on the v1 artifact, and then I want that to be in append mode. I just put the file mode in here. when you have this exclusive lock, then you can run this block. So what this will do, you have like a race, you have 12 different processes all trying to decide who is going to do this work. They see that it's required because like in CI's case, this artifact won't even be there. They all see that they have to do this. So only one of them hits this and sets an exclusive lock. And this is a Unix feature like flocks are. So it's not like semaphores or any of that stuff. No sockets, no IPC, just you tell Unix to name this advisory lock. And you can still read and write the file all you want. It's just a courtesy thing, just like in Postgres. Advisory lock means, I have a lock on this, please, guys. So if you get the exclusive lock, go ahead and do this. Now, the thing that got me so I got this working by wrapping these things with exclusive locks, but all 12 processes were doing the work over and over again because they would one would get the lock and the other one would say, hey, thanks, now it's my turn, get the lock, do the whole thing and pass it off to the next process, and you do the same work 12 times. But the cool thing that I discovered, TIL, or this week I learned that this task object that's yielded by file has this .needed method, which will check the modification timestamps again. So they're not cached at the time that Rake decides it needs to run your task. You can run this again. So now it only happens at most twice sometimes. They get in here, somebody gets the lock, and then now they check, oh, somebody else already did it. This task is no longer needed. I'm out of here. So this is how I made it. So you don't have to build the config every time you run a test, and it automatically builds whenever it's needed. And it still does that if you have in processes trying to do it at the same time.
Jim Wyrick, man.
Jim Wyrick, visionary.
Visionary.
R.I.P.
The way that you talk about locks, yeah, R.I.P. Jim. The way that you talk about locks in in Postgres in here is funny. Just like, hey guys, I have a lock on this, just so you know.
Yeah, it's an advisory lock, right? It's like,
Yeah.
pretty please, don't mess with me.
For risk of talking about politics, it's sort of like claiming that you have the electoral college. Hey guys, just so you know, I claimed it. All right, politics over. Yeah, that's awesome.
We can see it real quick in action if you like. So I can just, this should all hit that and print a Boolean. 12 processes. Oh, it's gonna all be false. I need to delete the files. Hang on 1 second. Now there should be 12 fierce horsemen descending upon that one file. Just gotta wait for 12 Rails boots. Apologize for Rails. People on this project feel very free to use standard out in ways that are pretty frustrating. So there's somebody decided to do it, and then everybody else, you see all those falses, none of them are doing it.
Yeah, on our project, it's a never-ending battle to keep that extraneous output out
Right?
of the suite.
Nobody else finds like just green dots appealing.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's if I don't see those green dots lined up exactly, I don't trust the code at all.
Just want green dots, right?
I like when it's almost all green dots, but then there's like one character in the middle. Like Dylan likes to put an emoji in there sometimes, and just like one emoji.
Right, just to fuck with you. Put a puts emoji.
Or there's just like those yellow asterisks that are just hanging out there.
Right, because we're gonna fix that one of these days.
We'll get back to this later.
Yeah, those tests are coming back. Just what
Not that I think you can make tasteful use of the pending, I guess that would be.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah.
Do you guys think, so this is like live streamed again, right?
Yeah.
Do I
Yep.
need to like edit my stuff out? I didn't ask my client, but I don't think I've shown anything that's trade secrets.
Maybe we can talk about it. Maybe we can have a wrap up, Paul, after we wrap up this TRL session or this show and tell session.
Cool.
So
I've got one more if no one else has anything.
Man, the dog had the great time off last week, and now he's not here. So
Oh, we got one more from Matt, Chris.
I got one more.
oh, I'm sorry. I was ready to cut you off. My bad.
Oh, that's all right. Cool. I will wait for my dog to stop barking, but for Brian, I will need the screen
Oh,
back
right.
when you have a moment. All right. So since last week, we had something from Andrew about Homebridge. I thought that I would show how I solved a weird non-complex complex issue I had so my problem is I have a freezer in my garage, and occasionally someone leaves that freezer a tad open and then everything becomes not frozen, and that's no bueno. So I have this complex solution, which is to put a contact sensor on the door and then to inform me whether or not the door is open within 2 minutes of it being opened. So I don't get a notification when someone goes in, but if it's left open for a period of time, I get notified. Seems simple. And it is simple with smart things. They allow you to create a workflow that can be time-based. HomeKit does not do that. I don't know why they don't have timers in their workflows. They also don't have messaging in their workflows, which is interesting, but I kind of understand why. When you create an automation in HomeKit, it actually is running off of a hub somewhere else. So like an Apple TV or a HomePod. It's not actually running on your device. So it's sending a message would be odd because where it comes from gets weird. So that's fine. I still don't understand the timers, but this is how I figured it out. So I have a freezer door here, and I'm going to open this up so that we can see all of the sensors. So show as separate tiles. So I have a freezer door. I have a contact sensor right here. So, like I said, I'm using Homebridge, which allows us to combine different products together that maybe aren't HomeKit enabled. And some very smart people have put together completely unrelated to HomeKit plugins that can be used. One of them called Dummy. And what this does is it just creates dummy triggers. They're like stateless switches. So I have a workflow. Oh, it doesn't show here. Do I have to go to automations? So what you do is you can create different switches in Homebridge Dummy. And so I have a freezer door timer switch, and all that does is when you hit it, it stays on for 2 minutes and then turns off. That's all it does. So that's simple. Now, because it's a separate device, I can create a workflow that says, hey, when the door opens, go ahead and turn that switch on. And that's all we care about. Because the contact sensor itself has no concept of the time afterward. So I'm getting around that portion of the time by hitting the switch that I know will turn off in 2 minutes. So then we create another workflow that says, hey, when the garage freezer door timer switch turns off, go ahead and do this other thing. Now, remember, again, we have no messaging in HomeKit. So Homebridge has another plugin created called Homebridge Messenger. It's less ideal than like a notification or a text message, but it works. It's a plugin that uses pushover, or if this, then that. I use pushover just because I've had the account for a long time. And it's like just a service for sending push notifications. So all I'm doing is saying, hey, if freezer contact sensor state is open. Okay, so let's back up a second there. So the trigger is when the freezer dummy switch turns off, which we know is going to happen in 2 minutes. Then run this shortcut. The shortcut says, go ahead and check the freezer door state again now that I'm running. So now that it's go ahead and say, oh, are you open? If you're open, then send this message. And you can set different messages in this plugin. Let me see if I can show that. No, that's dummy. Messenger messages. Yeah, so you set up a specific message. So now this pushover notification will be sent to me if the door is open for 2 minutes. So complex way to solve what I would think is a simple solution, a simple problem to solve, but it works. And so now I get my notifications back if someone leaves the door open or if it just kind of opens by itself. All of that to say, I could have solved all of this by just putting one of those little flippy latches on the door. So I'm really just over complicating the solution entirely, but that's why we're software developers, right? So that's what I have to show. Thank you all.
It's very Rube Goldberg. You've got all this scar tissue adapting into and out of there's so much like adapting stuff just to make the one little if statement work in the automation.
Exactly. And it made I want to like HomeKit, but there's not a lot to like about it at the moment.
Right.
The video stuff is fantastic. Everything else is not so great.
I think that they should integrate it with shortcuts so that you can fire a shortcut from HomeKit.
It is. That's how those automations work now. However, so all automations go through shortcuts. When or have the same workflow. And you can even tell some HomeKit things to fire a shortcut.
Oh.
But when you do that, you only get access to a certain amount of things. So once you convert an automation to a shortcut, you can only touch certain devices or certain things. Like you lose the ability to message because it can't do it. So firing that.
Because it's running on your Apple TV.
Shortcut is weird. Yeah.
But I mean, I get notifications about like season 8 of Below Decks coming out from the Apple TV app on my phone, which I don't give a crap about. So why can't I get other more useful notifications from my Apple TV?
It was very interesting to me just to even think about, because the Home app will give me notifications about devices.
Right.
So why can't I just tell the Home app to give me a notification and just write the notification? I don't know why I don't have access to that.
Right.
I'm sure there's some reason, but not one that seems valid to me at the moment. So that's it. Anyone else? All right, Chris, sign it off.
All right. On behalf of Vidal and all my coworkers, this is Chris saying, shown and told. See you.